Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about what to do when buying land from an owner. All right, the first step I would recommend is communicate. It's kind of like a great marriage. You've got to constantly be communicating and asking questions, probing questions, and actually seeking to understand. Your seller, your owner of this land wants to be seen, heard, and understood. You really got to kind of use both ears and one mouth. There's a reason why God gave you two ears. You want to listen more, and that's level 5 listening. Not just listening for what you want to hear, but listening to what your owner is trying to say. Why are they selling you this land? Why are they trying to sell this land? What is the challenge? Did they inherit it? Do they have a brother or a sister they're feuding with and trying to get rid of this land? You really want to understand these reasons why. Like, what is the factor? It's like peeling an onion, 7 layers. By the time you get to that 7th layer, everyone's crying. So if you can have that emotional, that deep human emotional rapport with your seller, and it goes back to communication. Communicate. You want to understand what's going on, and that way you are presenting the best solution for your seller. Maybe they don't need a bunch of cash up front. Maybe they're interested in breaking their payments up. Maybe they're interested in, even offering you financing. Or maybe they need cash quickly so they can get the heck out of that situation and be done with it. So it all goes back to communication, and I cannot stress that enough. All right, so you've got the communication, you figured out what's going on. Now there's a little checklist I want you to follow. The first thing you want to do is get a purchase agreement. Get an agreement in place. And this doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I've seen land transactions happen on those little skinny white squares of bar napkins. Not saying just do it like that. You can look up, purchase agreements online, your state approved land contract online. Let's just use an example. You're in Florida. You're buying a piece of land. Well, Google land purchase Florida, and you get all the state approved contracts that you can download and use. I don't recommend going to like an attorney service or something like that because they're going to charge you for it. You can keep it very simple. And if something doesn't apply to you on that state approved land contract, just put NA, but fill in the blank. Fill in something. You want to keep it super simple. And some of these are a little long, 9, 10, sometimes I've seen up to 18 pages. A lot of it doesn't apply, but they've got to put it in there because there's been some type of case law or some type of lawsuit over it. And don't let that scare you. It's a simple land transaction. It's all about communication and then putting that communication in your purchase agreement. I don't like to call it contract because at the end of the day, when you hear contract, you think of something negative. This is a purchase agreement to purchase a piece of land or a piece of real estate. That's all it is. It's a simple agreement. So what do you want to put in this agreement? You want to put the timeline. When are you going to close on this property? When are you going to have your due diligence and your research done? A lot of people throw around the term due diligence, and I find that most people don't understand it. It's just research. That's it. You want to know, is the land buildable? How close is it to the road? What are your setbacks if you are going to build? Are you allowed to put a septic system? Are there, facilities in place like sewer lines and electric and internet and phone and you name it? That's all research is. That's all due diligence is. So you want to have a timeline for that. The standard is usually about 15 days across the country. So take that entire 15 days and use that time for yourself. Once you get this property under contract, the purchase agreement is signed, you have 15 days now to do your due diligence. So that's the first one, timeline. The second one on timeline is, when are you going to close? When are you going to actually pay for this land? When are you going to do the deal, fund the deal, and you physically own it? So you want to set that. On average, I'm seeing usually about 30 to 45 days. So, if this is your first one and you've got a lot of questions and concerns, and if the seller's open to it, the owner of the land is open to it, set it for 45 days and give yourself anywhere from 15 to 20 days for your research and your due diligence. That's called an inspection period usually on the purchase agreement. So you're really not really inspecting much. It's more research really, but your inspection period, 15 to 20 days, and you're closing 30 to 45 days. And then finally, one of the top of mind things are gonna be, what are you paying for this land? What is the price of this land? Is it $30,000? Is it $100,000? Is it $100 million? Whatever it is, you want to know what you're paying. And then here's the sweet thing about land. Is the seller going to hold some financing for you? Are they willing to hold half of a note? For instance, you're coming up with $50,000 down and the seller is going to hold the other $50,000 for say 10 or 20 or 30 years at 0% interest, which I prefer, principal only payments. So you really want to know what the seller is willing to do. And the answer is always no if you don't ask. So don't be afraid to ask these things, because this is when you want to put it on that purchase agreement, put it in writing, and get the facts on paper. Let's talk about EMD, Earnest Money Deposit. This scares a lot of people. I don't really focus too much on it. It's really not an important thing unless it is important to my owner, unless it is important to my land seller, then I make it important to me. I want to see like what they're looking for. If it's important, like what they want to see is an earnest money deposit. And I'm never going to give this to the owner. I'm going to give this to a title company, to an escrow company, to a closing attorney, depending on what state you're in. I'm never giving this directly to the owner of the land, because if I don't do the deal, that money's gone. So there's a couple things about earnest money deposits. Some owners want a non-refundable. Some don't care. Some don't even understand it. So usually I put anywhere from $10 to $100 to $1,000 sometimes for earnest money deposit. But standard across most real estate transactions, if you do a deal with a real estate agent, they're gonna ask for 10%. But really, there's nothing saying that you have to do 10%. You make the rules, and as long as your seller's good with it, going back to that communication, as long as they didn't really communicate it in the beginning, it's probably not an important thing to them. Now, I have had some sellers that say, look, I want a $100,000 earnest money deposit, or I want $5,000 non-refundable earnest money deposit. Then do that dance. I had one, we bought a $1.2 million piece of land that was approved for 44 townhomes. This seller wanted a $100,000 earnest money deposit, non-refundable. Well, that wasn't gonna fly in my book. It ended up turning out to be $40,000 earnest money deposit that was refundable. Usually when I find that someone wants a non-refundable earnest money deposit in a huge chunk, they're usually hiding something. And I'm not gonna go down that road. So if I could save you from anything, if you take anything from this video, do not go around doing non-refundable earnest money deposits, because that's usually when someone's got something up their sleeve and you just want to know, you want to flesh that out in the beginning. You don't want to go for that deal. You know, you never want to do a bad deal. I prefer to do the good deal. So if you can not do a bad deal, I'm helping you out in this video. So just remember that. Non-refundable earnest money deposits, no. All right, so you've gotten the deal under contract, you've gotten the purchase agreement signed, you're into your 15-day inspection period, everything's looking good. It's now time to get your funds to the title company, wire them, certified check. I prefer wire. That way there's no holdups. It goes. There's no, like now title companies are like holding these certified checks for like 4 days. So just be aware of what the title company prefers and how long the holding time is. But it's time to fund the deal. It's time to go to closing. So get your money to the closing. You go and sign. Sometimes title companies will send you a notary to your house if you prefer. And same thing with your seller, same thing with your landowner. They might be in another state. They can send a mobile notary to them and make it super, super convenient. All right, so I told you about the $75,000 land purchase that turned into $282,000 for me. But before I do, go ahead and click that subscribe button to this channel. I'm always coming out with more and more stuff to help you buy land from owners, help you buy land from sellers. So go ahead and click the subscribe button and also comment if this is helping you. All right, I want to talk to you about a story where I bought land directly from an owner. This seller, he usually would go and travel to Montana from Florida once a year. This seller wanted to buy a mobile home, like an actual mobile home that he can drive, RV or a camper, whatever you call it. He needed about $30,000 to do it, but his land was worth a little bit more. It was worth $75,000. But he also wanted to have like a monthly income and be able to come back to the land and stay on it until he died. So he was actually an older gentleman. He has passed away at this point, but he wanted a place to live. He needed some cash. He wanted to live out his dreams for his last, several years on this earth. He knew his time was coming short. But I got to know this gentleman. I listened to him. I asked him. I made sure he was seen, heard, and understood. I really did level 5 listening with them. And we were able to come up with a deal where I came up with $30,000 and then he held a seller carryback or a mortgage for $45,000 at 0% interest. And $400 a month was my payment. So this $400 would knock down the mortgage balance every single month by $400. This is winning. Like, this is totally winning. Like, I don't know if you understand, but most mortgages, 30-year mortgage is at 6% interest. If you have a $200,000 loan, you're gonna end up paying back over $400,000 in that 30 years. So if you pay, that $1,200 a month payment, that $1,200 does not come off the mortgage balance because you're paying, very front-loaded interest for the first 5 to 7 years. I had a sweet deal. Every time I paid $400, this balance went down. And here's who was paying the $400. I actually had a barn on this property. It was a piece of land with a barn on it, and he was like living in his old mobile home. But the barn was rented out for $400 a month. So literally the tenant that was using that barn was paying my payment. And where did I get the $30,000? I wasn't really sitting on a lot of cash back then. I was still an Army officer, I just had a young baby. So all my money was going to diapers and baby food and rent, you name it. So I called USAA and got a personal loan, which was basically a credit card, at 14% for $30,000. And I got this loan from USAA and gave the seller $30,000 and paid him $400 a month for this parcel of land. Well, fast forward a couple years later, the seller has now passed away. I still owe the mortgage. I still owe the seller carryback, and it passed to his grandson. Well, now I don't want this land anymore because the barns start to deteriorate. So I find a buyer at $159,000, and he gave me $30,000 down. That allowed me to pay off the USAA. It allowed me to pay the seller back. This $159,000 land sale, I gave him a 30-year mortgage at 6%. If I hold this mortgage for 30 years, it's gonna turn into $282,000. So I bought the land for $75,000 and I'm turning it into $282,000 over 30 years. I'm not getting to pocket a bunch of money right off the bat, but for 30 years, I'm gonna be paid $720 a month, roughly, give or take, for this piece of land. It's a one-time transaction. I did it without any of my own money. All right, as you know, the real estate market is absolutely exploding. I have a tried and true method. I just showed you how I took $75,000 and turned it into $280-something thousand. I do this every single day, and I also teach my students how to do it. I teach my students how to buy massively discounted land and sell it in their sleep for huge profits. I've got students making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month. If you're interested in figuring out how you can build a business like that, head on over to thelandsharks.com. So the link is below in the description, so you'll get to thelandsharks.com and you can actually schedule a call with my team. We'll see what your goals are, see if we can help you, and I'd be honored to coach you.